I'm calling this meeting to order Monday, August 22nd, 2022 at 6:02 p.m. Our invocation tonight is from Pastor Eddie Davis of Bishop Nazarene, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Councilmember Mahovey.
Madam Mayor, esteemed council members, please join me if you will. God, thank you for this evening. Thank you for this chamber and what it represents. We ask in the name of Jesus Christ for blessing, for direction, for help for these women and these men who are leading our town and our community. You said in your scripture very clearly that what you require from us is to seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with you, our God. So, Lord, I ask, and all those who trust you and believe in you, ask for these things for our council members and our mayor, that they would seek justice and pursue it diligently in all the areas and all the matters of our city and its business. And we ask that they would also love mercy and help guide those who have stumbled and gotten off the right track back onto a path of life and joy and peace and love. And Lord, we ask that you would help each one of the members of our council and our mayor to remember humility as they walk with you and as they make these grand and great decisions for all of us in this community. Jesus, I'm asking, and all those who trust in you are asking, that you would help our council members and our mayor and bless them. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Public comment. Notice to the public. This time is set aside to receive public comment on matters not calendared on the agenda. When recognized by the mayor, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Under California law, the City Council is prohibited from generally discussing or taking action on items not included in the agenda. However, the City Council may briefly respond to comments or questions from members of the public. Therefore, the City Council will listen to all public comment, but will not generally discuss the matter or take action on it. Is there any public comment?
I don't see any.
Oh, sorry, Kate walked in, so I was like, sorry. My brain sort of just went somewhere else just then. I apologize. Seeing no public comments, we will then do a update from Inyo Mono Advocates for Community Action, quarterly update by Executive Director Kate Morley. Perfect timing. Yes. Yes.
Sorry, I really did just bike here. Thank you, Council, for having me. The last time I was here, IMACA was in a very chaotic and busy time. We are just as busy, but I am pleased to report that things are at least a little less chaotic. So I'm glad to give you an update today. I do not want to bury the lead. IMACA is running the energy assistance programs, our food bank, and we still own and manage Valley and Glass Mountain Apartments. I want to circle back and talk about these programs in a minute, but I want to start out by briefly summarizing the programs that IMACA no longer oversees, then talk a bit about some of the organizational capacity elements that we've been working hard to strengthen, and then talk about some of the services that IMACA is still continuing to provide, like I mentioned. We had a clean handoff for our preschool and our childcare programs. They went to the Inyo County Offices of Education and the Mono County Offices of Education. That took place in the spring. I'm pleased to report that it was a really seamless transition. We had IMACA running the preschools on a Friday, and we had ICOE and MCOE running the preschools on a Monday. Same students, same staff. It was truly over the weekend. We're really grateful for their support. There's been a longer transition period for the Housing and Homeless Services Program. So IMACA continues to be grateful for the support of Inyo County HHS, the Mono County Social Services, Mammoth Lakes Housing, and which is now called Sierra Housing Advocates, and the Eastern Sierra COC. They have taken over the bulk of the work that IMACA was previously doing. On the IMACA side, we are still continuing to work on getting 24 trailers that were previously in storage out into the world to be used as housing. I think at this point we have only 4 or 5 still in storage. The rest of them are getting used, which is fantastic. 10 of them went to Eastern Sierra tribes, and the other 14 are earmarked for Mono County Social Services and Inyo County HHS clients. We also recently turned over a very, very small interest in the Silver Peaks project that went to Sierra Housing Advocates. Excuse me, but Visionary Home Builders, they're the not-for-profit developer that is overseeing this project. Based in the Central Valley, they're continuing to take the lead. I understand the next step for both of these organizations is to secure basically the bulk of the funding to start development and work on that project. Let me start there. Any questions? So far, so good? Okay, let's talk about organizational capacity. So one of the things that has been very worthy of my time and attention over the past 6 months has been developing additional organizational capacity at IMACA. This council voted to provide funding for programs and services. That money was immensely helpful during our really tough spring. It really helped us with the handoff of projects. We used it to employ frontline staff. It brought us a few extra weeks with some programs that we had to end our state contracts for, but there was still wrap-up work to do that helped us keep several clients housed. It's really valuable. We also used some of the money for direct client services. So I just want to reiterate my thanks on behalf of IMACA, our board, and the families that we serve. Let's talk a little bit about some of the support that the state has given to IMACA. Back in February, we were given a 13-component plan that the state wanted us to complete to ensure that we were in a good fiscal position to continue to provide our energy assistance program and our food bank. As of 2 weeks ago, I'm very pleased to report we heard that the state was officially satisfied with all the progress that we've made. We got their stamp of approval. There was some training requirements, some audit materials, some contract closeout, a bunch of additional extra reporting. IMACA did it. So going forward, we're going to continue to work with the state. We want to send them monthly fiscal reports just to ensure that they're getting a full picture of where we are financially, to ensure that they still think that we're on a good track. And we're also working with them to create a long-term fiscal sustainability plan. I think that'll really benefit the organization. Any questions so far? I got a spiel. So cash flow is strong. We're caught up on billing. We have made recently some medium upgrades to our payroll processing software. We've also made some ginormous improvements to our payment processing process. So I realize this is insider baseball, but what IMACA used to do was a lot of paper shuffling and scanning. We had to email back and forth. We had a really large and time-consuming check run process that each week would take us just like a day to get through. Now we have an electronic system. It's nice, it's handy. We route things to the right people in the right order. I pay a batch of e-checks by hitting a button. It's the sort of thing that the money that you all provided allows us to work more efficiently, so we have more time for community outreach, for programs, for all of the good stuff that we want to do, instead of just doing the logistics. So that's really helpful. Let me return to programs. So we still run energy assistance. We still provide help with propane, electric, and oil bills. We help to purchase wood or pellets if people need direct deliveries. We also just launched a water bill assistance program. There are some restrictions on the funding, but the gist of it is if low-income families have a water bill that is overdue, IMACA can help to pay that bill. We also continue to run the food bank. We again deliver to communities from Walker to Charleston View. Bishop is always our largest distribution. We often have between 100 and 150 families that receive 100 pounds or more of food each month. The food bank, you just have to roll with it. Last week we thought we were getting produce. We got ice cream. Where do you store ice cream? In any freezer you can bag. So we just make it work. We will get the produce, we'll get it out. But I just, say that as with all of the internal process improvements and policy improvements that I want IMACA to continue to make, we're still at the mercy of. We provide critical frontline services to the community, and sometimes that means, what do you do with the ice cream? We thought we were getting broccoli. With the food bank, we're going to trial a new text reminder system, which is going to be great. We recently have had to do some reschedules due to weather, road closures, that sort of thing. If there are changes to the schedule for the holidays, again, it's just it's not that hard, but you need to have the infrastructure to be able to do a mass text to 125 people and say, hey, we have to change the schedule by an hour because something else is going out of the fairgrounds last minute. No one coordinated with the truck. Those are the sorts of things that we can do with like the text reminder system, again, with the funding that you all provided. So we're really grateful. Let me take one more round of questions in a minute, but we are also still overseeing Glass and Valley Apartments. The units are full. People can get on the wait list. Turnover happens fairly regularly, but currently they're full of clients. So we're just continuing to provide that housing service.
So Kate, that was one of the things that was going to go to the Mammoth, now Sierra Housing Advocates. How did that change?
It is. So it's still going to go to Sierra Housing Advocates. I think they are awaiting some funding to make the final transfer. We're in escrow. It's a long escrow. So in the meantime, IMACA is going to continue to oversee the apartments. Having that loan off of our books will be immensely helpful. Yes.
I'm gonna stop you so you can take a break here.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, better. All the trailers you got out of storage,
Yes.
all the trailers you got out of storage, where do they get housed? I'm not housed at, but where do they get placed at? I mean, on whose land, are they self-contained? Or
So the 10 that go to the tribes basically stay on the reservation. So slightly different placement and zoning. For the 14 that we have that are going directly to clients, 4 went to Mono County clients and the remaining 10 went to Inyo County clients. So Inyo HHS identified clients that they are working with, clients that needed housing. And so their basically team of staff, their housing staff are working with clients to find a spot for the trailers. So they're calling trailer parks, they're trying to.
Okay, so they're not just parked in a parking lot somewhere with.
No, they're not parked in a parking lot somewhere. We had an agreement where they have to be placed legally according to county code or city code, depending on what jurisdiction they're
Right.
in.
That just
Yeah.
little component I just wanted to kind of clarify.
Yeah, no, frankly, it was one of the pieces that IMACA struggled with initially because IMACA was trying to place the trailers. So now that Inyo County just has more staff and greater capacity, they are able to have a farther reach and make faster progress placing the trailers than IMACA did. And some of them I do think are actually I understood they placed one at Ridgecrest recently. So I mean, it is hard to find slots. Not much vacancy, but the staff are doing the best they can.
Perfect, thank you. That's good to hear.
I have a random question. How does your food program work? Like, how does broccoli become ice cream?
How does broccoli become ice cream?
Basically.
So we have a lot of distribution sources that send the food our way. Some of it is local donations. Great Basin is incredible. Our local grocery stores are very beneficial. So we get their overstock, their about to expire products, stuff that just isn't moving off their shelves. It's seasonal. They want it gone. It comes to us. The food that should have been broccoli and was indeed ice cream actually came from the Northern Nevada Food Bank. So they're one of our largest fresh produce suppliers. They do direct deliveries to Mono County and to Bishop. IMACA takes a large load of their food in Bishop, keeps it at our warehouse, and then distributes all the way south throughout Inyo County, because Northern Nevada will not drive farther south than Bishop. So we don't want to shortchange anyone who lives south. Therefore, we get the food down there. Some of that is we put it in order and they send us what they have. Oftentimes it is, it's hard to, for example, request like an exact product. Like it's hard to request broccoli, but you can request vegetables, or you can request beverages, or you can request, snacks and cookies, those sorts of things. And then when you get what you get. So it's rare that we get such a replacement as ice cream instead of vegetables, but it happens sometimes because that's what Northern Nevada gets. So it all just depends on their supplier and kind of what comes down the hill. They are also trying to move huge volumes of food, and sometimes it's, well, this is in front and it needs to go, and they probably couldn't store it either. And so there it was. We can go back and say, hey, we really did want that other produce because that was the point, trying to get it down south. But it takes a week and you've got to coordinate, and we only do delivery once a month, and it just the storage and the staffing and the logistics of getting everything into the trucks and then getting 100 pounds of food per family for hundreds of deliveries a month. We're literally moving tons of food on a regular basis. So it's just a lot of logistics to get that actual volume out the door.
And then one other question, you mentioned the trailer went to Ridgecrest?
It was placed at Ridgecrest.
Okay.
Is what I understood. That was the closest available opening that was found.
Okay. Because that's Kern County, right? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's out of county. But yeah, I mean, if it's an Inyo County client and they have a spot and they're willing
I
to go,
see. And that,
yes,
got it.
yes. So they were like, I will take what spot is available. I want this trailer. Nothing to be found in Inyo County. There's an availability of Ridgecrest. There you go. So if that speaks to the lack of availability to place mobile homes in the Bishop area and then more broadly Inyo County, people are going to Ridgecrest because there is no availability here.
Madam Mayor, are we allowed to ask questions?
Sure. You've got to come up to the speaker,
Oh,
yeah, and state your name and address.
Sure.
But you gotta still come on up, state your name and address.
Gotta see it
Okay.
on TV.
Eddie Davis, 2709 Audrey Lane, Bishop, California. I had a question about illegal immigrants, because we, as a church, we have folks who come by for help too, now and again, food and housing and otherwise. And we like to work with other agencies like IMACA, correct?
Yep.
So are they allowed to come and work with you guys, or is that an inhibitor to like help with food? Particularly this couple who stopped by recently, I'm wondering, because I had the situation recently, we're in need of food in particular. So we help people, we buy groceries and that sort of thing too, but for more long-term solutions, I want to work together with your agency. So can illegal immigrants work with you guys, or is that, I'm not sure how that would work.
We do not.
Okay,
create
before
operations.
Kate, I'm
First of all,
sorry.
can we not call them illegal?
Okay, before you answer that question, Pastor Davis, could you please refer to people as undocumented people, not illegal immigrants?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I didn't know that was a problem, because the person who was asking me called himself an illegal immigrant. So he didn't have a problem with it. I don't know why that is. Could you explain to
Yes.
me why that's a problem?
No human's illegal.
Oh,
Yes.
well,
Like being
But we-
human is not illegal.
it's not the
It's just that
humanity
they don't
part. It's
have
just being in a
documents.
place where there are laws that are
They're
associated with
undocumented.
being in a certain area.
Yes, it's undocumented. They are here without the proper documentation.
Yeah.
And it's just that by long history, people without proper documentation, they're called illegal, like you don't belong here. I know people are not illegal.
Is it not against the laws of our nation, though, that they're here undocumented?
Let's not get into the semantics.
I'm just
No, no, no,
wondering,
no, no,
'cause
no, no. Let's
it's
just-
a strange thing
Can
to
you, can
be.
you please follow the request of the council?
Yeah.
And this actually is not what is on the agenda. We need to stay to what's on the agenda.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to know if a man could get food from Imaka.
Yes.
Is that
y-
okay?
Yeah, of course. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
All
Let
right.
me answer very broadly. IMACA does not screen for immigration status. Anyone who needs food, anyone who needs energy assistance, come on by, please.
That's
Yeah.
great. I'll send you
Thank you.
by or I'll come with.
Thank you.
That's perfect. Yeah. We have several bilingual staff. We're happy to help anyone. All of our documents are available, English and Spanish.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Kate, you did answer a question I had because last time you were here, you talk about being behind in your billing and not being able to bring in any cash. I believe back then you were also looking for a CFO or the changes you made, and kudos to you and all the staff for all the progress being made, but being caught up with the billing, it's important because that your income, it's what you guys need to survive. So with these changes, did any personnel lose their jobs, or did you needed to hire more employees, or?
So I think for now we are appropriately staffed. We are cut up on the billing, which is great. You get several months in the hole and you can catch up fairly quickly, but once you get back on, if you are slow on cost allocating your indirect costs, that will really delay you for several months of billing. Once you get that process dialed in, you are then back on track very quickly. So that's what happened to IMACA. We slowed down, and then as soon as we sorted out that issue, we were back on track with the billing. We currently have a fiscal manager. As I mentioned, the automation of a lot of our otherwise paper processes has really freed up a bunch of time. So that means that she now has the capacity to work with a contract accounting and consultant firm that we are working with to make sure that all of our policies are totally current, up to date, that we are calculating our indirect appropriately, that we are ensuring that admin costs are reasonable and appropriate. Certainly they're necessary, but we just want to make sure that they're reasonable for, a small not-for-profit in a rural area. So yes, I do think we're appropriately staffed. We've got one in-house person and a very solid contractor recommended to us by our national association, so the NCAP, the National Association of Community Action Partnership. We're totally happy with what they're doing with us, and I think the combination of our fiscal manager working with Markham and doing all of this check-in work with the state audit team at CSD, I think we're on a good track.
Good, thank you.
Kate, can you comment? Because at some point I remember there were rumors floating around about IMACA converting into a shelter but now that your housing program is no longer there, is that no longer the case?
That is no longer the case. So I believe the term they were using was navigation center.
Yeah.
In essence, like an emergency temporary crisis
Yes.
shelter that would have
That's right.
provided a few overnight beds that was going to be located at our 137 South Street property. One of the challenges was it was a ambitious, well-supported plan by the COC, but the staffing was never directly sorted out. It was a plan in process. IMACA bought the building. Then IMACA turned over all the housing services. Inyo County is now the lead for the COC. I have a feeling, we are still waiting for state lawyers to give us final guidance, but I have a feeling IMACA will just turn over the building to Inyo County as the new lead for the COC. The thought being that Inyo County could use it for its original intended purpose, or if it's allowable, if they would want for another eligible purpose under the funding source with which it was purchased. So there are other housing uses that the HAP funding that was used could be directed to. It's simply a matter of where the COC would want to go next.
Kate, I have one more question. Since you're talking about the South Street place, where do they go to get, if you're going to go sign up and because you need electrical help or food help, where are you going if that's not the location?
So you can do it online on our website, which most people do. you can give us a call or you go to the Clark Street office. So all of our intake staff are at 180 Clark Street. It is the same location as our former preschool. So it's still got the ABC 1, 2, 3 out front. We are all there for now. So yeah, swing by. Basically doors are open from 8:30 to 4:30 every day, closed for lunch. But we've got a secure drop box and forms available outside. And we're happy to, you need to come over the lunch hour, we can certainly make that work as long as we know in advance.
Great, thanks. I wasn't sure where you guys were now.
Yeah, so the food bank is currently located at 145 East South Street. So that is the building directly adjacent to 137, which is going to be the NAV Center. But the food bank is that, big warehouse with the 2 roll tops in the front. Yeah, and then our office staff is on Clark Street.
So you're now streamlined to energy assistance in the food bank.
Yes.
And are you looking at picking up any more services for your clients, or is that where you guys feel
My
your
personal recommendation, I don't want to speak for my board. My personal recommendation would be to maintain that level of service for at least the next year or 2. I think there are a lot of opportunities for IMACA, more community outreach, more communication, just ensuring that we are truly dialed in with the organizational capacity piece, which is not an overnight fix. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, here's what I want to do in the next 3 weeks. They're like, Kate, that's a 2-year plan. You can't. And I was like, but can't we just? And no, that is a 2-year plan. You can't just, you have to do the steps in order. That is how organizational capacity works. Okay, we'll take a breath. So it also, I would say, depends on the type of funding source that IMACA could potentially get as to whether or not growth would make sense. If it's just reimbursable state contracts and these are funding streams where IMACA has to front a lot of money and then wait for reimbursement, particularly if it's delayed reimbursement because they're, you can only bill on a quarterly basis or something like that, that gets real challenging. That's a lot of our state contracts, right? If it's something that you are paid up front or a block grant or something like that, sure, we probably have more ability to easily take that on. But I'm hopeful that for the next year or 2, the organization can just settle in, do the work it does very well, ensure that it's just a well-oiled machine, and then think about are there other opportunities for growth.
any further questions?
One last question. First, actually, it's more of a comment. Congratulations on doing such the hard work for such a needed organization. And we know it was really hard for a while, but the community is definitely benefits a lot from having you at the helm and being able to bring IMACA from the metaphorical ashes, so to speak. So kudos for that. And then I also heard that you might be leaving.
So maybe that's a good segue. Thank you so very much. That was very kind of you. It was a team effort. Man, did my board put in some emergency meetings. Man, did staff pull out every stop they could to keep things running. I am very enthusiastic about IMACA's future, but I did give notice to my board a few weeks ago. They flew my position. We had open recruitment, so I'm leaving next month. Hot off the press, the board has made an offer to Kelly Barcelo, who's a current staff member of ours. She's a department director. She's been there several years. I am very excited for her. I think she's very capable, very qualified. And I'm confident that IMACA is going in a good direction. It's a fiscally stable organization that provides needed community service. And with the support and with the collaboration that IMACA has received over particularly the last 6 months that I have seen, but years and decades before that, I'm confident in the organization's future with Kelly. So I have agreed to stay on call as needed with them. I will be around if called in, but I don't anticipate it'll be that much. Kelly's gonna do great. So yeah, she starts middle of next month.
I just want to thank you so much for asking the City of Bishop to help participate in helping you achieve the success that you have for your clients. And we are here to partner with IMACA. These are our constituents, and thank you for doing what you've done and coming to us when you needed help. We were happy to be your partner.
thank you. We had need and you guys provided, so we are very grateful.
Thank you so much.
I would also, just as a final plug, reiterate, we have an opening on our board. It is for a resident of Inyo County who is a public figure. So if anyone would like to put in an application to my board, there is a vacancy and we would welcome filling it.
It's mine.
You welcome your application. I will pass it to my board. Ball is then in their court, but I would only imagine they would be thrilled to get it.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you
so much. Okay. Moving on to the Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau update, Executive Director Tani Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Dustin, Robin. I am Tani Thompson from the Bishop Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. And as always, thank you very much for the opportunity to give you a little update. So on the Visitors Bureau side of things, the Information Center has been very busy this summer. In June, we served over 1,800 inquiries. In July, over 1,600, and that's 10,000 guests since January. So it's good to be open and helping people in person and still on the phone and by email. Most of our inquiries, as is typical in the summer, is hiking and fishing. We've had lots of people express frustration over the limited service available at the White Mountain Research Center, but we're doing what we can to help them, but we can't issue permits and things like that. But we kind of get yelled at a lot because they're not open. Well, they are open, but not like on the weekends and when people want help in the evenings. Several guests have also been unaware of the new Yosemite reservation system. So we've been helping people navigate that, stay an extra day maybe here, try to get them a permit for an upcoming day. And then recently, we helped a lot of people understand what was going on with the floods in Death Valley. So it's not just people that are coming to Bishop or Mammoth, it's the whole region, but we're happy to be able to help them. Fish stocking, summer supplemental stocking program with our partners at the resorts in Bishop Creek Canyon has gone well. We've had 2 loads delivered from Wright's Rainbows, and we have a 3rd load that's planned for, we don't have the exact date, but it'll be sometime in September. Fishing has been really good for any locals that like to do that in the Bishop Creek Canyon this summer. You know, we had the early concerns about the hatcheries and the bacterial outbreak. As far as we can tell, the hatcheries have done a really good job managing that situation. And some of our waters actually got some additional fish early because they had to clean out those hatcheries in order to make them safe and be back online for next year. So the fishing is great. Something that was new last week, Joe Polini and Joyce Walker from our staff, I think they get the Above and Beyond award for this month. Joe was contacted by a group of senior citizen folks that wanted to tour our area, and they wanted a tour guide. Well, we don't have tour guides on staff, but we have Joe, who is actually a trained, certificated tour guide. And he's been through classes and regularly attends seminars on these kinds of things. But he helped them put together an itinerary that was based out of Bishop. So last week, Joe and Joyce drove to Lone Pine, met the bus. Joe got on the bus and Joyce followed in her own vehicle behind the bus. And Joe gave them a narrated tour of the Owens Valley with a stop at the Eastern California Museum, where they toured that and learned a lot about Manzanar and the aqueduct and Inyo County history. And then they had 3 nights staying here in a hotel in Bishop, taking day trips to Mono Lake, to Laws Museum, back to Manzanar and such. And they were really thrilled with the service. So yes, it was a good thing for, and it was 22 of them. It was a good thing because they spent money on the hotel here and also lodging and hopefully some incidentals. But it's also our foot in the door into this small tour groups, not just thinking of Bishop as a place to stop and have their picnic in the park before going somewhere else, but actually as a place to home base. So we're really excited about that. Something else that's exciting is you guys have heard of adventure racing. We've had Some of them happen here in previous years. Our staff was helpful in assisting the organizers with not actually logistics like running the race or swimming that leg of it, but finding venues for them, caterers, lodging partners that would help them out. So they were so happy with our service and they did such a good job in previous years that the nationals are happening here this year. It'll bring a couple of hundred athletes from across the country to Bishop the same weekend as the Mill Pond Music Festival, September 16th through the 16th and 17th. But we're really, really excited about that. And we even helped them figure out how to get bikes received here. So one leg of the race is a road race, bicycles. So these people have these fancy bikes and they're shipping them here from back east. So we worked with a local storage company to accept those bikes for them and have them ready for them. So excited about that. Occupancy is doing okay. June was about 82%, a little bit above 2019. We're not comparing any of our statistics to last year or the year before. We're looking back at 19. July was 79%, which was lower, about 5% lower than 2019. Normally this time of year, we're not very aggressive with our paid advertising because our focus has been November to May, but we took a look at that kind of dip in July and turned up the volume a little bit. Seems to be working. The numbers are rebounding nicely for August. So there's kind of a shift in our budget and our spending. Our strategic planning meeting for the Visitors Bureau side of things is coming up September 14th. It says on the document that I gave you 10 o'clock. I'm going to try to start us at 9 o'clock. And we welcome city staff or any council members that would like to attend that and participate. It'll be at Alta One Credit Union, Federal Credit Union, in the conference room there with a Zoom option. But we will be giving a pretty comprehensive report of what the marketing and destination development programs that we've done and worked on in the last year, plus look at what we are planning to do for the next 12 months. So your participation is welcome. Do you have any questions about that side of things, or I'll switch over to the chamber side of things?
Have any hypotheses on why July went down? Was there any particular?
There's a lot of factors in the world today that are hurdles for travel, right? I mean, gas prices are kind of a lot. We still don't have anywhere near what we would normally see for international travel for this time of year. June, July, August are big international times normally. The Yosemite reservation system is a deterrent for some people. So we're showing them alternatives where you don't need reservations and you can still have a pretty epic mountain experience this time of year. There's just, and COVID, it's not over yet. I mean, there are still some people that are concerned, LA, which is our closest major market, almost went back to indoor masking a few weeks ago. So there's a lot of, I'm just gonna call them hurdles. We're still running the race. But so the good news is that much of our destination development program is very flexible. So we can just say, okay, we're gonna turn up the volume on our digital or Google ad searches and our social media things, look at some new campaigns. One of them was no reservations required, right? You can come here. So it's just not something that we had to do before because we had all these other, weren't facing all these other factors.
You compare your numbers to other communities like Mammoth or Mono County or Inyo County. Do you know what their occupancy was for July? Was it the same?
I don't know. We only get the Smith Travel Research Report for the city of Bishop, our partners that are contributing to the TBID, or actually, we don't have all of the properties, but we have about half of them that we get the Smith Travel Research data for. And then we also get Inyo County, the unincorporated areas. We don't see what Mono County is, but I mean, we could ask them.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm sure that they would tell us. And it's not, it's not a terrible dip, I think. And having some conversations with some of our colleagues in other communities that are throughout the state, we're doing better than most.
Great.
And having conversations with them.
I do have a couple of questions, Sunny. September 14th, starting at 9 o'clock to noon.
Probably too.
Okay,
And we'll bring lunch.
thank you. The mobile app, is
Yeah.
that helping bring in people? Are you keeping any track? I downloaded the app and I like it a lot. You can plan your trip, you can find a lot of information, and I believe we can put more information in there as well. But are you keeping any data on how many downloads or
Oh yeah,
what people are doing, using it?
we get weekly reports through the app that tells us how many people are downloading it and how many are using it. By the week, we get that. We're getting about 60 or 70 new downloads a week, which isn't a huge number. But in all honesty, we haven't gone super public with it. Like we haven't advertised via our other channels, our social channels and such, because we're still fine tuning it. Because
Great.
you said there are still things that can be added to it.
Oh, yeah.
What's on the app, and that's why I didn't really talk about it. We're going to talk about it during the strategic planning session. It was a big investment, and it was a big project for our staff to get the systems to integrate with our Chamber Master software. My next step is to get a lot of our chamber member businesses to upload photos and things so that we are not using stock imagery, for certain businesses.
Yeah.
So that it's be more truly representative of what's in those businesses.
Yeah.
Plus, Julie and our team are working on adding more than just the chamber member businesses that are listed there. Some iconic attractions like the Bristlecone Pine Forest, like some other places that people don't necessarily pay to be part of. We're adding those in right now. So we're getting ready for a big launch, probably in the fall.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay, I'll give you a quick rundown on the other side of things, the chamber, local community matters. We had our strategic planning meeting for that department of our organization on August 10th. And Destin, I'd just really like to thank you again for attending and really engaging with our board. Couple of takeaways. We updated our mission statement, and it now reads, we promote business, tourism, and responsible recreation to benefit our community. Didn't really change what our mission statement means, but it just simplified it a few less words. So happy about that. We also have updated our organization's brand name. So our legal and official name is the Bishop Chamber of Commerce. Our doing business name has been the Bishop Area Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. It's a mouthful. Our new brand is now going to be the Bishop Chamber of Commerce and Information Center. We decided that using the word visitor was not really appropriate because we probably help, I don't keep track exactly, but somewhere between 30 and 35% of calls that we get, inquiries that we get are locals. And we are an information center. We provide information regardless of what zip code you are coming from. Kate, we actually get people that come to us and ask for housing assistance or food assistance. And so rather than just tell locals they're not welcome there by saying it's a visitor center, we've decided to change the name to the Information Center. It's going to take some time. The sign still says visitor center. It still says visitor center on our door. But as we can, we're going to be making that transition into an information center. Also, the other really big takeaway is that the the Chamber of Commerce budget was approved by our board to include hiring of another team member, a full-time team member for us. It's back to this capacity thing, right? There's a lot of opportunity for us. And right now with the staffing that we have, our capacity is maxed out and we don't want to miss any opportunities to provide service to our community. And also they set aside some reserve funds as a starting point for renovation or replacement of the building. That the rainstorm wreaked a little bit of havoc. We're grateful for the moisture, of course, but it was tough and it's time. So I'm hoping to work with Destin and others to try to formulate maybe like a 3-year plan for getting that building up to par. So some fun stuff that's coming up August 25th. That's this week. We're going to have our first post-pandemic mixer at C5. And there's going to be yummy snacks and some beverages and most importantly, good networking and a tour of the facility there. Everyone's welcome. It's from 5 to 7 p.m. We're going to have our second Lunch and Learn event, September 1st at noon at the golf course. The topic presentation will be given by Robert Sharp of Eastern Sierra Community Bank. Pardon me, 2 very important topics for businesses. One is the employee retention tax credit. Many small businesses qualify for a pretty good size amount of money, depending on how many employees that they have and what their payroll looked like during the pandemic. It's complicated. And I have a feeling that there's many small, independently run businesses that are too overwhelmed with it and think they can't handle it. So Robert's going to give us some ideas on how to tackle that. The other thing is CalSavers. So it's the state-sponsored required retirement savings plan for all businesses, for all employers. The deadline has actually passed by a few weeks, but it's our understanding that they're not really enforcing for another month or so. And there are some options for businesses that can save them money and give them good tax credits and at least let them know they have options. The penalties for non-compliance can be pretty significant. Our chamber installation dinner to welcome our new chamber board members and pass the torch to our new president, Sarah Freund, is coming up on September 15th. And that's going to be at 6 p.m. at Upper Crest. We'll be getting invitations out, but we'd love to have city folks there. There is an event that's being organized by the Eastern Sierra Small Business Resource Center coming up on September 19th. It's open to all businesses or entrepreneurs thinking of starting a business. It's called Pitch It. And it's a workshop to teach people how to talk to potential funders about their business, their elevator pitch, right? And it's really important timing because in October, the Sierra Small Business Development Center out of Bakersfield will be bringing the Capital Summit here, which will have lenders, traditional and non-traditional lenders here. So the September event is designed to get businesses ready as a primer to go to that Capital Summit. And then last but not least, Golf Fun Day. Wasn't that fun? Was supposed to be July 30th. We had all the sponsors in place, all the prizes. And then we heard from many of the people that normally play that they were busy that weekend. So we made the difficult decision to postpone. Looks like the new date is going to be actually a Friday afternoon, September 30th, in conjunction with the activities that the golf course already has going on Friday nights. So thank you for listening to me for an extended period tonight, but I think I didn't give a report last month. So
It was always good work. Thank you for all you do.
now thank you for your continuing support and thanks to the park staff that literally bailed us out with the water problem, but we appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Okay, moving on to department reports. Updates on department activities will be given by department heads and or their staff. Fire Chief Joe Dell.
Like to follow Tony.
Sorry,
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So we're continuing to run a significant amount of calls for service. We're averaging over 40 a month. As you guys saw, the July, we're into the 50s, but that's our busy month. These are, summer months are our busy time. Had our first JPA, Joint Powers Authority ad hoc meeting last week. It's really kind of on the ground floor, just searching for what our purpose is going to be on possibly, combining the district and the city into that one department. Policies and procedures are probably 2 to 3 weeks out from landing on your guys' desk with the kind of a approval / comment section to follow. It'll probably be 30 to 60 days after that, with all those different entities that need to look at them. It's going to be an interesting process, but I am making progress on them. And then kind of last, well, it's not last, there's a lot of this here, is event season. So fair and parade, hopefully you guys are okay riding on the ladder truck again for the parade. But we're going to be doing the EMS staffing at the fair again this year. Looking at help with our partners, CAL FIRE and Big Pine, and we'll get through this and make sure we have a nice, safe, fun event. Of course, the Derby is always our biggest. All hands on Derby. Keep hearing big talk about the Power Wheels Derby. So we have 2 age groups for a Power Wheels toy derby in between the main event when the guys are fixing their regular cars. We also have a 9/11 climb again this year on September 11th. We're climbing in the afternoon for the 343 lost on 9/11 to never forget. And again, this year, we're going to drop golf balls at the Wounded Warrior Golf Tournament for their hole-in-one contest. Everybody buys a golf ball, and we drop it off the top of the ladder truck, and you get a prize if it falls in the hole. So anyways, lots going on. Busy. The guys are working really hard, guys and gals, really getting through the summer season. Realize that overall, the state has been lower on fires, but Bishop Fire has been pretty significantly busy. So. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Council.
Okay. Police Chief Rich Standridge.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Kind of a lot going on summertime, so we stay pretty busy at Bishop PD. Just got word today, Oscar Lopez has made it through his first week. A little bit stressful, but he's hanging in there, so he'll do all right. We anticipate good things. We've got Lena Dondero, our new PST, scheduled for quite a bit of training coming up in the next few months to get her online with evidence and different things she's going to be doing. Got our supervisors scheduled for some supervisor training coming up to get them lined out and in compliance with post. We have a post audit coming up within the next month. We should be ready to go for that. They're going to come up and take a look at how we do backgrounds because the state's getting ready to go through a lot of changes. And especially with the new SB2 decertification policy coming online, we have to make sure we're in compliance with that. But looking at our current backgrounds and our former employees that have just recently left, we're not going to have any issues there with posts. So we'll just learn from their visit, but there's not going to be anything that we have to be concerned with. So pretty much we're getting ready to participate with the fair. We're going to provide some service with CHP out there. We recently worked a DUI checkpoint with CHP, so we're getting out and starting to do some more cross work with the local agencies, which directly impacts our local community, obviously. And we're going to participate in the suicide walk upcoming with the Paiute tribe. And I just got asked today to be a judge at their parade for the floats. So I jumped at the opportunity to do that for them and kind of look forward to more collaboration as we move forward. Does council have any questions for me?
The parade going to be the same day as the Walk of Life?
Yes, it's going to immediately be done. I think if I remember correctly, you're going to be there at the parade also, council member?
I'll be for the Walk of Life.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be there.
Be there for both. And one thing I did forget to add, council member Garcia and I took the opportunity last week to meet with the 2 newly indoctrinated council members for the Paiute tribe. Good meeting, kind of talked about where we are, where we've been, where we're going. I liked it, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
I did see the largest traffic jam I've seen in a long time in Bishop.
The other night.
Now, the other morning, going to school, crash, and then it was just backed up everywhere.
So I did go on Skippable News today and kind of talk about that. give some safety tips for folks for school. We are picking up our
Buses,
patrol, walking. We are
Hikes.
bikes. I love it all, but yeah. We are picking up our patrols there in the morning. One of the things I talked about on Skippable News is our our radar trailer that we're going to be ordering and then getting some signage up probably throughout the year there also. So, a lot going on.
Any update on the no U-turn for Maine and, no?
No, that's in the hands of Caltrans. That's kind of, we'll follow up with them, but that's part of that bureaucracy. It takes a little bit.
And we haven't requested one for Line and Main. No U-turn, have we?
I didn't know it was an issue, but I'll take a look at it.
I just happened to see a couple of cars doing that.
Oh, great.
The day before yesterday. So, yeah, it might be something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Request
man,
another
I
one.
think maybe I'll get a hold of the person in charge of that over at Caltrans, just maybe have a conversation about some key intersections in town.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
What kind of Fiat that could be turning those streets? Who's doing these on motorcycles?
Associate Planner and Economic Development Coordinator.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I missed that. Thank you. Community Services Manager, Dan McElroy.
That's okay. I'm used to being upstaged by Elaine, so thank you. Good evening, council. Just a quick report from the community services. I will start with the front of the park and the park in general. I don't want to steal too much of Dustin's thunder, but it looks like the front path is well underway and hopefully we'll have completion by next week. Also at the city park, we've begun our bid process, which will hopefully hit the paper this Saturday. Just still need to work on a materials list for the front restroom renovation project. As well in the park, you guys know that Labor Day is coming up. So citywide, our crews are working very hard in conjunction with Public Works to make sure that everything is clean and ready for the Labor Day celebration here in the city. Our pool continues to operate evenings from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Extended through the end of September with lap swim team, and of course, water aerobics. And also at the park, we started hosting our first weekend of AYSO soccer. So they practice basically 5 days a week and play games on Saturdays. So very busy at the park. And I don't want to steal too much of Dustin's thunder, but we also had a meeting with our grantors, consultants looking at EV charging stations in the park as it pertains to an Edison grant that has potential there. In our programs, we still continue to offer our after-school program, which is full at this time. Our gymnastics schedule will be coming out this week for our 4 gymnastics classes that'll happen 5 days a week at the auditorium here. Our KIND program is full, and our registration still keeps coming in for our adult soccer league, which will begin about the second week in August. I have to get some more registrations before we can put out a schedule. And that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions or comments.
Thank you.
Staying busy. One thing I will add is a special thank you to our staff, our summer staff. Had tons of compliments from everybody that used the pool this summer, and especially in our summer camps. So kudos to those employees that were here, our seasonal employees. A lot of them rotate with us and they continue on in kind of a lesser, after school capacity, working after school programs and our kids' nights outs and things like that. So kudos to that summer staff for sticking with us and getting through a hot summer. So it was great. So thank you.
Okay. Associate Planner, Economic Development Coordinator, Elaine Cabala.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I don't have a lot of updates this evening, to be honest. We have a planning commission meeting tomorrow for a conditional use permit for someone who wants to open a business that would be based in a permanently placed Airstream trailer. And we've begun work drafting the ordinances in order to formally adopt this specific plan and mixed use overlay. That's going to be a bit of a process. So I'm hoping to bring that in front of the council in October right now. Also, we're working with our two selected cannabis applicants to get through the permitting procedures for them to be opening their businesses. Those are my main 3 updates this evening. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.
Quick question you might know. At one time, we had, this is going years back, we had, was it 2 licenses for mobile food things? Rudy's was one. Do we have any of those out, or do we still have mobile food services in town anywhere?
We have a couple of food trucks in town, and we don't have any formal permitting procedures for mobile food trucks that I'm familiar with. So I'd have to look into that more.
Yes. So I think we have, I want to say maybe almost 6 now. And she's right. There's, other than they have to go through the health department, and then they also have to get an encroachment permit from the city to be on city land or city right of way, I should say. And there's actually, I think, 2 more that are just waiting on their trucks to be here. Yeah, so it's something that Elaine and I talk about regularly, is how could we find a spot to put them all together?
I see 'em
And then
sprinkled
kind
out
of
at-
create an environment where people could stop and a family could get all different kinds of food. So
Smart lot.
that's the one I'm thinking about. There's other stuff going on there, I
I
think.
know.
But I agree, that would be a great spot.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, City Administrator and Public Works Director, Dustin DeShawn.
I don't have anything, Joe, and Dan took it all. No. No, anyhow, just a quick update on the Frontier and the high-speed fiber progress. So they are pretty much complete with overlaying the fiber over the copper on so their infrastructure. They have some distribution boxes to set and some splicing to do, but they expect to maybe by the end of this week, so maybe by the 1st of September, actually start taking requests for service. It's moving along very quickly. They're already started heading out towards West Bishop right now. So like I said, they expect to fully be taking calls for service in September. And that came from both the construction foreman and Doug McAllister, who met with us. Let's see, Joe. I continue to work, and I think I brought up earlier, with Department of Water Resources on consolidation of water systems, which is more at the forefront after the fire out at Fairview. We're right now working with 2 in the McLaren area that have no fire hydrants and very small water systems. And the state is reaching out to a lot of other small ones that maybe make sense to consolidate with the city. So that's great news. And we have monthly meetings, and it's progressing along. They actually do a feasibility study, what will be needed, additional infrastructure, and that state is where the big benefit to everybody is the state helps pay or pays for most all that infrastructure. As Dan said, the park sidewalk is moving along well. Should see important concrete this week, and then maybe if they got really lucky, finishing this week. And let's see, and I know I said last time we made an offer to a public works director. We actually have a signed contract now, so we can announce that it's Nora Gamino, working currently with the Forest Service, and she'll be coming to work with us on September 26th. So exciting news there. And I would say probably last but not least, but just a kind of a heads up that the next meeting, the Dave McCoy name of the airport is being, the county's board of supervisors requested that all the other local partners weigh in on this. So we'll have an item to discuss that at our next meeting. And unless you have any questions of me, that's all I have for now.
Anyone? Okay. Fantastic. Moving on then to the consent calendar, notice to the public. All matters under the consent calendar are considered routine by the city and will be acted on by one motion. Does anyone have any questions on the consent calendar?
I just wanted to thank Destin for, there was an attachment that was missing in the Eastern Sierra Fair, and I just wanted to thank him for getting that to us. so that we could look at it before the meeting. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. And I apologize. Jenny had done all that legwork prior to her leaving, and Jen McGuire was out of town, so we put it all together.
Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
We have a first and a second, call for a vote.
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mahoney,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
great. Moving on to new business, proposed changes to the Bishop Municipal Code. Administration.
I can address that. Good evening, council. A little bit of background on this topic. On July 12, 2021, the city council approved the recodification services with MuniCode. Included in the approved recodification services was a full legal review that ensures that the city's code remains legally sound and accurate and conforms with the state and federal law. Gender neutralization of the city code, which will be maintained going forward with no additional fees, and also state law reference linking, which is provided for $300 per year for annual updates. Recodification process started in July of 2021 and is almost complete. Each city department has had a chance to review and make suggested changes to the first rough draft of the city's new municipal code. On June 30th, 2022, the city received the final draft of the city's new municipal code, which was given to staff for a final review. City Attorney Pucci, Deputy City Attorney Collins, and city staff have all reviewed the final proof of the city's new municipal code and have submitted the attached final comments and changes. If council would please see the attached list of final comments and changes to the final draft of the city's new code requested by City Attorney Pucci and city staff. Due to the scheduled timeline, should council have any further changes or edits, this is the time to suggest any further changes to the final draft to be submitted to MuniCode's code attorney. The City of Bishop's new municipal code will be adopted by ordinance at a future meeting. There are no significant economic impacts. There are no budget impacts. City Attorney Pucci has reviewed this item and finds that the recommended action complies with the law. Unless there are any questions for me or other city staff members, staff recommends council consideration to approve the proposed changes to the City of Bishop's new municipal code.
Any questions? Did everyone read the entire municipal
The
code?
entire municipal code in 4 days' time.
Any questions?
I was just going to say, this is what hadn't been done since the 80s. Is that correct? So thrilled that we know we're in good shape that way.
And when this was presented to us back in July of last year, it did talk that it was presented as if they were doing a full legal review to make sure that everything was still compliant with everything. And so we're okay with that.
Mhm.
And I guess they are linking to a bunch of stuff on the state, right?
Right, so going forward, there will be a link with the municipal code online.
And any modifications that we make that are like, would it just refer to automatically to state law? Would we have to ask them to add it?
So they've already reviewed everything. So they've already looked at the state and federal law compliance. If there was anything that we should be aware of, they would have flagged us with that information. But going forward, yes, so they'll be constantly, whenever we submit an approved ordinance, I submit it to MuniCode and they codify it and they put it into our online system and everything's accessible to the public. They can reference which ordinance it was that was added. And it's really a great system if you haven't looked at it, but you can share information and search for information just on a few words. So.
And one last question. I mean, I know a lot of what's in the municipal code, well, some of what's in the municipal code has now been superseded by state law. So are we gonna revise that at a future date to like remove that and just refer to the state law?
I think it's going to always refer to the state and federal law that supersedes it. And that should be noted within that, within the Muni Code. Anything we adopt going forward, again, will be referenced. And I think there are some things in the municipal code that after departments have reviewed it, they say that there are some stuff that needs to be updated. And so that's really a good chance for us to review and start putting together a list of ordinances that need to be brought forward to update as a whole, right?
I mean, there's stuff in there about building code and we don't really have any control over that anymore. There's stuff in there about like flood plains and we don't have control over that anymore. So, yeah.
All that should be updated with our ordinance.
Council, good evening. Can I have a minute?
Thanks, Dean.
So yeah, good evening, council. So yeah, this was not intended to be again, it's outside of the purview of my firm and the city attorney's office. This was not supposed to be a complete review of every word of our municipal code, in the sense that there's no way that this independent firm would know that a particular department head had a problem with this particular ordinance. Though that's a process where an ongoing process where a department head can say, I have this issue with this ordinance. Can we make some revisions? We bring that back to council. That was not this granular level of review from a substantive perspective. So to answer Councilmember Mahovey's question specifically, anywhere that federal law would preempt us, we would be following federal law anyways. And so if there's references that are a little outdated, technically, I think they probably should have caught that. But in any event, that's why you have us in terms of making decisions and giving advice and as to what that controlling law is going to be, or those controlling principles. So I would imagine you're going to continue to see what you do on a monthly and annual basis, which is modifications to our ordinances as we deem necessary from a legal perspective and as council deems necessary from a policy perspective.
Thank you, Dean.
So Dean, just to clarify, we're not gonna, you don't foresee us going through and finding all the ones that are still written on the books that the state supersedes and just wiping them off in one fell swoop? We're just gonna kind of leave them there?
Well, so the question is a good question, but it really is kind of the famous lawyer answer that everybody hates, which is it depends. It depends whether that area is completely preempted. It could be an area where the state allows us to make certain modifications or tweaks to that area, so it's not completely superseded by state law and still gives us options. So it really would depend on what provisions we're talking about. But certainly for the areas that have been completely preempted, we should revisit those if those are still in there, or make sure that those are fine-tuned to our best interests. But rest assured, whatever legal issue we're looking at on an ongoing basis is going to take a fresh and new look at it as we're giving that advice, regardless of what our municipal code says or doesn't say. We're going to look beyond that to give you the most comprehensive advice.
Great, thanks, Dean.
Dean, quick question. We can't just take stuff out of the municipal code. We still have to come before us to revoke it, I guess.
Yeah, so essentially the easiest way to explain that is any way that a law is created or something is created, it must be done away with by the same mechanism. So if you've created something by an ordinance, it has to be changed by an ordinance. If you create something by a resolution, it has to be changed by a resolution. So I think that Dustin and staff will be bringing you back from this independent law firm the appropriate resolutions that are necessary. And we've looked at it. I did send it through my team from a 30,000 foot perspective, just to make sure that there wasn't anything. And I assumed that this law firm knew what they were doing, or this service knew what they were doing, just to make sure that there wasn't anything that required, say, a public hearing or required something additional in terms of studies or and so again, this was not meant to be a complete substantive rewrite of our code, but a cleanup of it, stuff that the council could do very easily by resolution to change the his, hers to theirs, to renumber, to restructure, to move things around, things that wouldn't require, any more substantive evaluation than that.
I mean, I'm still in favor of keeping the ban on satellite dishes over 15 feet wide. So I'm not go too crazy.
We could turn that into a fountain.
Okay, any other question? Public comment? Any other questions? Okay. This is, we don't have this is just information, right?
No, we do need it.
Oh, this is okay. Where am I? Would someone like to make a motion? Oh, to approve the proposed changes. Yes. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion to approve the proposed changes to the City of Bishop's new municipal code.
Second that.
Call for a vote?
Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Moving on to Cal Cities 2022 Annual Conference and Expo Proposed Bylaws Amendments.
Okay, So each year, as part of the Cal Cities Annual Conference, resolutions or other items that guide the Cal Cities legislative efforts or governance are considered. At this year's Cal Cities Annual Conference, no resolutions were submitted for consideration. However, this year, the adoption of proposed bylaws amendments will be considered for the General Assembly to vote on. Mayor Schwartz will be participating in the scheduled Cal Cities Annual Conference General Assembly meeting and is registered as the voting delegate. Council members Kong and Garcia will also be participating in the scheduled Cal Cities Annual Conference and are listed as the city's alternate voting delegates should Mayor Schwartz be unable to serve as the voting delegate. Council direction to guide the city's voting delegate and alternate voting delegates in voting on the proposed bylaw amendments is requested. And if you want me to go through the specific proposed laws.
I don't think so.
Okay. And other than that, no significant economic impacts. The cost for Mayor Schwartz and council members Kong and Garcia to attend the Cal Cities Annual Conference and to be available to vote on behalf of the city has been approved in the fiscal year 22-23 budget. No action is requested at this time, but council is asked to review and provide the city's voting delegate and alternate voting delegates direction regarding the council's position on the proposed bylaws and amendment.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? No? All good? Okay. I think we're good. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty straightforward. I know it came up in our meeting we had Friday, a little bit of discussion, but it's mostly just kind of cleaning of the house and adding some new delegates on through the caucuses. There were some rumblings there, but I don't see it going anywhere. I'll be on should something change before that, I'll be on the resolutions committee. We meet the day before on Thursday to fine tune this if it needs fine tuning, but I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay, then we'll move forward. Okay, moving on to a proposed resolution establishing and ratifying parking controls on the 100 block of Church Street. Administration.
Good evening again, council. So in 2017, the city enacted time parking changes in the parking lots and streets that were affected by the Warren Street project. Public meetings were held and surveys were sent out. The current parking restrictions in this area are the results of those surveys and public meetings. At this time, the majority of the time parking of the 100 block of Church Street is 3-hour parking. At the time, it was Joseph's Market was there, was one of the main users of the parking lot. And it was just decided that 3-hour would work best and incorporating the movie theater in there as well. People were allowed to go and eat dinner and go catch a movie without being in violation of parking restrictions. Since then, the Bishop Beverage Market has moved in and changed the use of that building. The owners or the proponents of this change, which are the owners of the Bishop Beverage Mart, so that their normal business is less than 20 minutes and is between 2 and 10 p.m., a total change of what we have over there. They have requested that 4 parking spaces be changed from 3 hours to 1 hour or 30-minute parking from, I believe, I'm drawing a blank, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. We, on June 16th, 2022, letters were sent to all property owners within a 300-foot radius of the Bishop Beverage Center. 6 responses were received and summarized in the attached table, and 5 in favor and 1 against these changes. Establishing parking restrictions that coincide with current uses allows for our local businesses to flourish. The cost to implement this change would be small and can be done as part of a sign replacement program that is already budgeted for in this fiscal year. So at this time, staff recommends to approve the requested change of the 4 parking spaces from 1 hour to 30-minute parking on the 100 block of Church Street and approves the proposed resolution by title only. And I need to clarify, I was trying to just talk through it without reading here, but that wall is actually 1 hour parking with 2 handicap spots. So we're reducing it from 1 hour to 30 minutes. And the remainder of the parking lot or the street, it's actually Church Street, it's not a parking lot, is 3 hour on the other side and then 3 hour in the adjacent parking lot to the south.
Does anyone have any comments?
Sure. And so just a clarification, within that lot, there are the 4 spots that we're talking about moving to 30 minutes, and then the other ones are still 3 hour, or are they 1 hour?
No, I made that mistake. It's 1 hour, but this process is brought forward. I think that we would like to change the entire north side of that parking lot to 3 hour other than these spaces. And it was actually requested by 2 of the business owners that we change that to 3 hours.
Yeah.
The remaining spots on
And-
the north end.
Yes, yeah. And then they'll all be the same over there.
I think that's reasonable.
So in this, by what we're doing today, would change the 4 parking spaces, but only during the hours of 2 to 10.
Correct. Yes, that was when the restrictions would apply and it would be signed as such.
Is the change going to affect the handicap spot?
No, the handicap spots will remain the same and they obviously are not timed. They're just have the handicap placard or license plate to be there.
And are we going to make sure they'll have the proper signage to inform people that 4 spaces, 30-minute limit, and the rest are 3 hour?
Yes, correct. Public Works crew, as you know, in anticipation, has ordered the signs in hopes that we would get them maybe this week, and then we'll install them if approved as soon as we get them in our hands.
And so there'll be an item at a future agenda to switch the other ones from 1 hour to 3 hours. Is that correct?
Yes, and I need to check with City Attorney Pucci. Going to a less restrictive parking structure may not require us to do that. We're just changing from 1 to 3 as we're not making it less. And it makes sense to do that. If we do need to bring it back, we'll bring it back quickly.
I just think it's great that the city is willing to work with the different types of businesses that move in. You know, if we just had a static parking code and we weren't like focused on the different businesses that change throughout our community, it would be a bummer for the businesses. So I really appreciate you engaging with these guys.
Yeah,
And helping them out.
yeah, that's our job to do that. And like I said, things have changed since 2017 and we need to be able to adapt as we go, make our businesses flourish. And like I said, it is unfortunate, but right in front of his front door is very close to the movie theater. So those are the easiest spaces. And we have been working with different Jack's Waffle Shop and stuff. You know, parking is a commodity at this point in time. If you can't, people need to stop, they want to stop. If they can't stop right where they want to stop, then they just go by to the next place.
Any public comment? None? Okay. Would someone like
I'll
to?
make a motion to approve the requested change of the 4 parking spaces from 1 hour parking to 30-minute parking on the 100 block of Church Street and approve the proposed resolution by title only.
Second that.
Call for a vote?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Bishop, State of California, establishing and ratifying parking controls on the 100 block of Church Street. Councilmember Kong,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Mohovi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Ellis,
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, moving on to item D, housing strategies and actions discussion. Planning.
So this is kind of a dual effort here.
Okay.
And so the city council has taken a very strong stance in trying to address our housing issues in this town, and staff has had that same commitment. The staff report is very thorough, and I want to thank Elaine. She put in all the actual progress that we have made. She mentions in here our housing element. I mean, I don't want to take away from the length of it, but it's very long and I'm not going to go through it point by point. I think I want to kind of summarize and take this item in the direction that we need to go with it. I'm expecting that everyone has read it or has had an opportunity in the last week to read it. So we're up to speed with that. Highlights, I want to highlight first the progress that the city has made going forward in housing. Number one would be the downtown specific plan and rezoning for multi-use down there to incorporate housing into our downtown area, the multi-use. This council sent a letter to LADWP only at our last meeting. That letter has already been recognized by DWP and actually been put on to expedite it and make this happen much sooner than the 5 to 8 year schedule that we once heard. And I've worked very closely with Adam Perez, and it's definitely a priority for them to get that into our hands to a developer to create housing. That's 2 properties for anyone that didn't see is on either side of Sterling Heights on McIver and Spruce over there. The city is currently, as staff is and council is exploring the ideas of city-owned property. How could we expedite housing quicker on our own property? We are making progress with that, working with legal team to see how we can make that happen through the Surplus Lands Act. Currently exploring the reuse, move on. Silver Peaks, that's another big accomplishment. I just reached out to Justin with Visionary Home Builders to see where they are at. They're in that holding pattern. I think Kate talked about it. We're waiting for that November deadline of when the state will be allocating funds to different projects. So we'll anxiously await that. That's 76 units of housing. And we're going to start working with the Inyo County on the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units, and coming up with somewhere around 3 to 4 sets of off-the-shelf, ready-to-go plans that people, if the cost of design and stuff is a big part of developing that. And the city has and will work with the county to implement that same program. Mono County already has. So in other words, another stride we have made to address housing. There's other items that we could talk about in here, but we've talked in the past about a vacant property tax. I think Councilmember Mohovi and I have had several discussions over the years, and he's brought it up. We've done some homework, looked at what's going out there. There is only one city in the state of California that has enacted a vacant property tax. It was by a ballot measure. It came into existence or became a law on January 1. It's already being challenged in the state level at the Supreme Court. There are 2 cities currently that have it on a ballot measure in November, would be San Francisco and Santa Cruz. But again, I think that the city, this is going to be a very challenging thing to get through. And let's let those big cities figure out how to perfect this this is a staff recommendation that the city, we wait and see how the challenges turn out and see where the pros and cons are. And once something is perfected, then we pick that up. I also would say that these other cities are vacant property taxes being driven by speculators. They're actually building housing and then letting it sit empty and speculating that the cost will go, the value of them will go up and then they can turn around and sell them. You know, those are items that we're just not dealing with in our city. I think at the bottom line, at the end of the day, I would like to say that, you know, we need more housing and acquiring property, working with LADWP to do that. We all know that's where the property is our only real answer right now to fix this. Is we need a lot of housing. You know, one here, one there isn't going to make a difference. We need, you know, 120 workforce housing units in this town. I do think that is worth looking at if council would like to direct staff, is looking at deed restrictions on future development. What could we do? And I think that's a real obtainable goal, you know, with the help of city attorneys and staff and council, that we could look at saying that these new homes cannot be second homes, or they have to be workforce housing. You know, we can look at that legally. But again, like I said, the bottom line is we need more of it. And going through the process, the city has taken genuine concern about this problem, is working on it. And I think we're making great strides in it. But, you know, I would definitely like to open it up to council, because what we're looking for tonight, is there any other direction that you would like to give us staff to work in and trying to solve, you know, that we're not already thinking about?
One thing that I think it's not going to solve the housing crisis, but maybe if we could explore looking at the first-time home buyer loan program that the city used to have. We seen if we could incentivize local workforce population in some sort of loan program, if that's feasible. I know we used to have it. I don't know how successful it was, but something to help people out buying a home.
And probably more substantial than what it was in the past with the cost of housing.
Sure.
Definitely, we need to look at that direction. And I forgot to add though, in talking with DWP and the development of gaining possibly those 2 parcels, which I feel very positive we will be getting those, you know, is we need to start working with developers to figure out what that looks like. Because it's a little scary when you look at the cost of Silver Peaks and you go without, you know, entitlements and maybe not tax breaks, what the state and the federal government may do. You know, actual workforce housing may not have all that to go with it. And what can we build that is affordable for people to live in? So we're working right now to make contact with developers that could help us, because they're the ones that are going to know the answers. Government is not good at building housing. We're good at finding people to do it for us that know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything to say, Stephen?
Me? Dustin stole all my thunder. No, I mean, I think just to educate the public, I mean, it is true. We've basically been approaching this from all different angles that we can. And one of those was obviously to address our zoning, to make more of our land available for housing, and we can check part of that off. Then we've also been dealing with acquiring land. And so we've been making those connections with DWP and actually engaging them because they are one of the largest privately owned private landowner in the town. But then, yeah, when it comes to dealing with our existing inventory, I mean, I still think that, yes, we should go look at vacant property tax to dissuade people from having empty homes that they purchase and leave here empty. But I completely agree that we should not be the ones fighting that fight in the legal battle. And so I think when I mentioned that last time, somebody told me I was ahead of my time. And I'm glad to see the time is catching up. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think I'm willing to wait and see how it all plays out so that we can see what we could actually do on that realm. I do think when it comes to priorities, I would say doing the ADU rapid build program is kind of a no-brainer, and that seems pretty low-hanging fruit that could definitely get done on a short time scale. I would also think we should look into, my second one would be to look into deed restricting any new development, to make sure that it's, I wouldn't even go so far as to say like it has to be workforce housing in this area or that, because I mean, the last thing we want is some communist block like apartment buildings in our town center. But I definitely would like to see, and I mean, Karen, you brought this up when we were chatting a long time ago, doing deed restriction to kind of limit second home ownership for any new development, right? And so that would be, I think in my mind, I would say that would be the second priority. Then I would say we should look into the development on city lands. And basically, I mean, we're talking about acquiring land from DWP. That'll be on the time scale of a couple of years. And the process of finding developers and making land available on the Surplus Land Act and getting them to actually follow through on building housing on those plots of lands, we should have that whole process in place before we acquire these larger lots kind of down Yaney and everywhere else. And that way it gives us even more of a leg to stand on when we approach them to say, hey, we've done this successfully on other pieces of property in town. So I would say we should put higher up there, identifying a plot that the city already owns to test out that program and work out all of those kinks so that when we actually have larger plots available to us, we can just pull the trigger and actually have it happen on a quick time scale. I think the idea of a first-time homebuyer loan program is great. The challenge there, of course, right now there aren't many. There's not much inventory there.
If we did build housing in conjunction with the developer, we could do a first-time home buyer program with that. You know, it could be sort of dovetailed in with it.
Exactly. Agreed. And then not to throw a complete wrench in all of this, but because right now there are lots of state regulations that allow people to just build ADUs, that they don't have to go through a lot of the planning process to be able to do it. It's already there. And from our housing needs, what we really want those ADUs to be available for is long-term rental. So is there anything that we can do to limit or disincentivize the ADUs, the new ADUs, to going into short-term rental and not helping our housing at all?
So you read my mind. That's what I have written here in big, bold, underlying. The idea of spending money and working with the county to get these plans all ready to go, easy peasy, and then have them turn around and rent them for, less than 30 days seems like a waste. That I don't know if there's a legal way to do it, but it would be lovely if we could make it that not a possibility for them. Because it seems like there would be a better use for our money. If there's not a way to limit the ADUs being short-term rentals for out-of-towners, then I don't know that it's worth it for the city to spend the money to get, plans ready for them if they're not going to, if it's not going to satisfy what we're hoping it will satisfy. So that's the number one thing I wrote down. I think that the other piece of this, the whole other hand, Destin, you and I have talked a long time about working with DWP, but we can't just sit by and wait for them. We have to do what we can do with our stuff while we're at it. I guess my other piece of this would be the sort of Airbnb enforcement piece of this, that we have rules in place that say someone has to be living there and someone has to this and someone has to that. And most of us recognize that none of those things are happening. And that there are just buildings that are empty and then they Airbnb for 2 weeks or 2 days or whatever. And it would be lovely if we could figure out that piece of this in some way. So that we're not only looking to improve our housing situation by adding new units, but we're looking at the ones that are already being used, since we're not able to do the vacant tax thing. How are we going to regulate those better so that they, so that they're really doing what we had put in that we wanted them to do? That's about all I got.
And I would agree with you on that. I will say, I think that we're making positive strides on the Airbnb or the short-term rentals in the residential section, because we're starting to see those folks that are interested in that looking at commercial property that they could call more a motel. So that kind of tends to make me think that we are doing a fairly, we could always do better, but I think we are starting to get somewhat of a handle on the short-term rentals within the residential section.
Good. I hope I'm completely wrong.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I said, I think that I'm just seeing the trend move over to trying to buy commercial property.
Right.
And where they can be a motel.
I mean, one challenge there, of course, is that since our zoning has changed so many times, there are what used to be single family homes now in a commercial zone. And so then, yeah, those are the ones that we're talking about people buying and calling a hotel. Is there anything we can do to address that in our mixed use zoning? How does short-term rental fall into that? Is it still a commercial use?
Yeah.
Again, council. So first, just being invited up, would love to respond to Councilman Kong, which is that if you're aware of, or if someone is aware of Airbnbs that are operating in violation of our ordinance, Michelle in Public Works and I do keep an eye on different rental properties to make sure they've gone through all the appropriate permitting. There's certainly some places where it operates as their primary residence, and they've provided us all the legal documentation to demonstrate that that's the case, but that they might not be living in the home as frequently as one might, be hoping for. And that definition is, 50% plus 1 of the year. But we do keep an eye on it. And we certainly have people who notify us if we have some watchdogs in the community as well who are keeping an eye on it. In response to Councilman Mahovey's question, that is an area in the mixed use overlay as we're crafting the code that I do want to pay particular attention to. In our existing commercial code, we allow for hotels and motels, which are short-term rentals. It's not really, distinctly defined in our code about how we're interpreting that. And so as we're developing that mixed use overlay, I completely concur that we did not go through this planning process that has been extensive and lengthy in order to allow for speculation and turning those into short-term rentals. The intent is to build housing. And so I would like to, as part of that, crafting that ordinance, develop some definitions. And I think that there's going to be a little bit it's gonna be tricky because certainly we also want to continue to encourage hotels and motels, to come into the downtown as well. That's an important part of our economy.
Do you think we can do that by, in the mixed use area, defining hotels and motels by number of rooms?
That is the intent I was looking to go with. And the number of rooms in I think it's the California State Building Code that defines a hotel and motel as 5 rooms for rent, which is also when you would trigger ADA requirements. And as for other properties, that were being discussed for multifamily development, the existing short-term rental ordinance that we have is that it has to be your primary residence, and for a multifamily residential property, you can rent 1 unit. So there's some limitation built into the code already.
Is there a way that we could look at some of the properties that are homes that have been converted into, insurance offices or businesses, that when that property sells, it has to go back into housing stock? Is there like a way to force that? I don't even know if it's possible, but
I mean, I think the mechanism that would enforce that is to take those places that are, they were built as homes, we put a commercial zone on top of them, and then we would have to put it back into the residential thing and then wait for someone to instigate something that makes that change. And, right now we're putting it under the mixed use overlay, which would then allow for that residential use without them needing to come for more planning commission approvals and things like that, hopefully incentivizing people who are looking for housing. And we started to see that people are looking for houses and turning to some of these places that are commercially zoned and getting entitlements to make them residentially zoned, even though they're built as houses. So it'll be a bit of a free market.
but like some of these have like conditional use permits, right? And so could we say that permit goes away when the sale? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Traditionally, a conditional use permit runs with the property.
And you can't go in and remove them.
Not-
ever.
I would defer to the city attorney, but I'm not familiar with instances where that could be done.
So if that's the question, I mean, there's been a lot of questions posed that have pretty significant detailed housing implications. And so I'm not remaining conspicuously silent. I'm taking notes. The answer, generally speaking, at just the first brush is that no. I mean, you really can't, because you decide you don't want a CUP anymore. That's the reason that it is a benefit to the landowner that it attaches to that land, so that there is certainty of use, certainty of legality, short of violation of the CUP. That is a mechanism to revoke a CUP. But in terms of land rights that have been given from a zoning perspective, it really takes a comprehensive, as Elaine said, a comprehensive look as to, well, we created this. If we want to change it, we can change zoning, but there are certain parameters that go along with that and what we have to provide those homeowners. And it's just not as simple as, surprise, today we're going to change the zoning and you got to go back to residential, even though you're a commercial use right.
Right. Okay. So some of those offices that are in homes, that are in residential areas, that are permitted by conditional use permit, that's in perpetuity.
That would be in perpetuity.
Okay.
And a lot of the ones that,
I will say a lot of the ones on Line Street aren't a CUP. They're
Yes.
just zoning. Because this commercial zone was overlaid on the
Right. I'm
majority
kind of
of
thinking
Line.
of like the stuff on like Sneeden and stuff on like there's all these little home pockets that have just some, just office type businesses that are in homes.
yeah. So some of those, there are a couple of outliers where there were some CUPs, but a lot of those are either in a commercial zone, like there's certain ones that are along Warren Street. And then there's another zone that was created, which is the residential professional And so a lot of the ones on East Lion Street or an Academy are in the residential professional zone that allows for them to have offices within those homes.
Got it.
With absent a conditional use permit.
Got it. Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but when those houses became commercial units, it was because of a need for commercial units because we didn't have them on Main Street. Now we have plenty, we don't have housing. So you're seeing people buying these and turn them back to houses. So I think this is kind of, I mean, we're discussing something that's
Already happening.
it's already happening. It's already taken care of itself. The market will kind of determine what people need. A house is worth more than a commercial building when they're everywhere.
Yes
Yeah.
and no, because when they purchase a commercial building, like let's say, example, the ones on Line Street, on East Line, they're not guaranteed that they can change it to housing. They have to go to the planning commission because it is zoned commercial, and they have to request a CUP or a variance to turn it back to housing. And a lot of people, so you can't but get a home loan for that. And so the only people that are doing it are the ones who like have like a lot of capital to be able to do that and not have to worry about whether I can turn this into housing. And so it's not just a matter of the market will take care. Yes, there is a market incentive for that, but we can do our part to make sure that a lot of those barriers to be able to do that.
No, and
are
I'm
in
not
place.
saying let's not do anything, but I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of taking care of itself. I think to the true answer, I think the priorities are pretty right here. This could be almost non-issue with 150 new housing units. So I'm in favor of, let's move forward with the way we're going. We're going down the right path. We know that the problem is Mammoth, when we had a presentation up there on their parcel project, did an amazing job of exactly everything you're asking about. The blueprint's already there, where they did there's some income requirements, there's residence requirements, there's length of purchase requirements. They did a whole bunch of deed restrictions on those properties so that they have the same problem we have, even bigger than we do. They just got ahead of it. I think we can already learn from it. Deed restrictions going forward, that you can buy the property. You have to keep it a minimum of 5 years. There's a bunch of great deed restrictions in there that I think will take care of a lot of these problems. The other one too is Destin and everyone. We're going to Long Beach here soon. The people who are out there who do this as a living, the companies, the developers, we'll have an opportunity to meet with them and discuss our unique situation, our vision, what's out there. I mean, thinking outside the box, the fact that we're looking at taking Bishop properties and actually making them into something different than an awesome parking lot, and addressing a problem. I think we're thinking outside the box. We're going in the right directions. So I'm in favor. Let's keep moving forward. I know we didn't talk about it in here, but we own some property on MacGyver, and I know that's a component too, that I think we have to look at. What is the best use for property we own? And I think we have to figure out what the priorities are there, and strategically, where do we move? If you can take 24 units and turn it into 120 units of a different type of housing, where's our priorities, and where do we, and similar to Mammoth, 10 years ago when they were looking at, hey, let's buy this chunk of property in the middle of nowhere for a lot of money. We have to have that vision. I think we have to start thinking investment in a future. Where are we going? Not just wait till we're reacting to, oh no, we have a housing problem. What are we going to do? No, we have to start making investments, long-term look. Booyah.
And I mean, and the only other thing that I would say, yeah, so I mean, definitely let's focus on developing city lands, city-owned property. The only other thing that I want to bring up as we're having this discussion is it would be nice if we could come up with a way that like we don't just turn town into tract homes. So maybe do some pre-dividing of lots and sell actual lots to individuals and not just to in addition, in conjunction with like a developer, but also to like individuals so that they can be like a craftsman homes as opposed to just cookie cutters.
Instead of going out and finding developers, I think there's 100 developers here in town, all with money in their pocket who want to buy a house and build a house. So I see where you're going. We don't need to go out and find developers. We need to find property. Here you go. You develop it, jump in.
So in certain areas, yeah. In certain areas, it makes sense to have apartment buildings.
Yes.
In other areas, it makes sense to have like craftsman home.
Well, and actually those two properties over there on either side of Silver Peaks, the north one is already basically zoned for C whatever, Elaine will help me now, I'm drawing a blank, but for apartments. The one on the south side on the corner of Yaney and Spruce is single family residential. Yeah, because we have a need for every bit of the housing in this town. And I think Silver Peaks is going to take care of that low income need that we have. And so we need to look at that every aspect of housing at that point. And yeah, that's a great idea, is selling off individual lots. You know, it also makes us come up with the capital to pay for it, you know, without a developer right behind us. But I think those are things that we can do.
Yeah.
You know, there's ways to do that, to borrow that money, because I don't think it would sit there for a long time. I guess a good idea.
I think we'll recoup money as fast as.
Yeah.
Before the ink dries on documents.
But let's deed restrict them first.
Yeah.
But I do want to, one thing I didn't realize tonight is in our downtown specific plan, we should definitely get ahead of the short-term rental
Yes.
issue. I think that could blindside us if we don't think about that ahead of time. So that's something I hadn't even considered.
I'm glad that came up.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly. I had not thought of it either.
Any other comments? Nope. Okay. Any public comment? Okay. Then we don't have an action item. We just have direction to staff, which I think you received direction.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for this staff report and for all you guys have been doing on this high priority of housing. So really appreciate it. Okay, then we'll move on to future agenda items. Does anyone have any future agenda items to add? No? Okay, then council and committee reports. Do you want to start with Stephen?
Sure. Just my main reports. Yeah, at the Rural Fire District meeting, we discussed who the key stakeholders are in our chats about potentially forming a joint powers authority. And we came up with a plan where we basically need to define what is the clear purpose of the JPA. And so that's progressing along. The other meeting I went to was the LTC. Nothing terribly exciting to report on that, other than I requested that they change a designation of a few parking spots at North Lake, and they're going to do it.
What,
So,
from like overnight to day use?
so right before the creek, how people have just been pulling over on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Those will now be no overnight parking. And the turnout right before that, on the left-hand
left.
side, that will also be no overnight parking.
Oh, that's great.
So that should happen within a week, by the end of this week. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to the fair, which will happen before we reconvene. And I got a puppy and he's adorable.
You're gonna bring him to a council meeting?
I potentially would.
Okay. Jim?
I don't have much. I missed the SCOG meeting because of Zoom difficulties. Zoom. I got to go down to the Desert Mountain Regional Meeting with Jose and Robin on last Thursday. We went down for the welcoming event, which was great to get a chance to kind of unwind and talk to everybody. And then Friday, we had our meeting with our region. If Jose knows of more stuff I missed, it was kind of uneventful other than the election of a new president. I was elected president of our division. And I don't know if anyone out of Bishop's ever been at that level. So it was kind of an honor. And that'll start up here at our next meeting in November. And the only thing that probably came out, and I talked to you earlier about it, was there's a discussion that the member cities got into within our board, within our division. We write letters either opposing or supporting bills at the state level. And currently there is no policy. What is the word I'm looking for? I just said it earlier.
Legislative platform.
You were good. We don't have a legislative platform similar to that. We don't have one here in the city of Bishop. That kind of expedites if we, within our district, if we can all find kind of the common yeses and nos and where the red lines are and where it makes the power we have as a district, as a region, become a little more stronger if we can get ahead of stuff instead of waiting. Oh my God, this is coming before the Senate next week, but our council hasn't met. It's hard to write those letters. So that's the direction we're heading. And it would probably help if we did something similar in the near future.
That could be a future agenda item.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to future agenda. items. I seriously love this council.
Okay,
That'd be about it for me. I am looking forward to the fair also. And thank you guys.
Aaron? Oh, Mike.
No one's ever claimed I was too quiet. And I had an Owens Valley Groundwater Authority meeting, and we're working as an authority on a well sign up list so that we can get a handle on where all the wells are. Keep in mind, residential wells are not required, but encouraged to sign up as well. So that should be rolling out anytime here with a fairly easy web-based format to sign up. So that was the main work we did there. You may or may not remember that both Tri-Valley, Chalfont and Fish-Lou and all of that have dropped out, and Mono County has dropped out of the OVGA, and they're now their own little authorities. And so in the plan that was written, those Mono County pieces are now going to be run by them and all of that. So that's really great for them, I guess. The other thing is I also met with Meryl Picard from the Bishop Tribe. She's the new chairwoman just elected, and she brought us these little things. Apparently they discovered shortly after she was elected that no one put any money aside for the California Indian Day Parade. And so she's going around with these sponsorship / donation things. So if any businesses or local folks want to donate so that they can have this parade this year, they're in need of that. And Meryl would be the one to contact for that. And then lastly, in July, mid-July, July 16th, the US government changed the suicide crisis hotline, and they've made it simpler and easier for people to access. The number is now 988. So you don't have to remember the 800 number. You don't have to do any spelling with what numbers or what letters. It's just 988. And it's staffed 24 hours. And in fact, they're actually looking for volunteers to staff that as well. And if you're a veteran, the veterans have always had their own crisis line. So now you just dial 988 and then press 1, and you get specifically directed to the Veterans Crisis Line. And you are talked to by other veterans about the things that you're experiencing. So I'm super excited about that. It seems like a nice, easy way to get to the help that some people might need.
Along with Steven, I attended the Rural Fire District meeting and the LTC. And as Jim mentioned, I went to the Desert Mountain Division meeting last weekend. It was nice. First time I do a 4.5-hour drive nonstop, thanks to Jim. But it was, we made it safely. Yeah, it was nonstop. Yeah. Yeah. We made it, but we ran inside to take care of some necessities.
Question is, do you speed?
No, we did. No, we did not. No. Yes. Yeah. First time I visit Bear Mountain. It's
A Big Bear.
Big Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
quite a drive. Yeah, it's nice. It's beautiful there, but
Yes, yes.
Last city council meeting, I was not here. I had to drop my wife's youngest son off at Reno at the airport. He is, and I want to say thank you to Rotary Club. He went to Switzerland for a year.
exchange student.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy. He started school, I believe, yesterday in Switzerland. We actually got to talk to him on the phone. Switzerland is gorgeous. It's like Mammoth prettier. It's just gorgeous there. But
Alpine comes from. The Alps.
but the reality kind of hit home recently. I had to mow my own lawn on Sunday. And I have no one to blame for when stuff's going wrong in the house, that like there's stuff left on the table. So this whole last kid thing leaving is kind of weird. But we still have milk in the refrigerator, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good. And orange juice. Okay, yeah. Okay.
But so it's just I want to say again, thank you to Sunrise Rotary for making that happen and helping him on the next path. It's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I
I didn't know you were done. Yeah.
I wasn't done, but yeah, thank you. I also attended the Walk of Life planning meeting at Toyabe, and they're doing great. They're putting it all together. 6 to 10 different divisions within Toyabe are working on it. It's planned for September 23rd at 6:30 in the morning. Or the walk is actually going to start around 7. And the parade after that. It was nice participating, and as Chief Standridge said, I met with the 2 newly elected tribal council meetings at the Bishop PD. It was nice meeting them. We have very candid conversation about working together in the future, and that's it. Along with Jim, I am flying to Oaxaca, Mexico on Wednesday, taking my younger daughter to Oaxaca. She's going to be teaching English at a university for 9 months as part of the Fulbright scholarship that she received. So it is a privilege. She's super excited. So I'm going to be down there for a week, helping her get settled, and then I'll come back to be at the parade that I'm really looking forward to, and going to the fair, and yeah.
Great.
And then the conference in Long Beach. So yeah, thank you.
I attended ESTA and ESCOG, and so I'll give an update on ESTA. They have their short range transit plan, and it's published, and I recommend you guys all to look at it. It's in depth, but it has a lot of really great information, and I'll give you some highlights. They are expanding the 395 service to Reno to 7 days a week into year round, which is great. And there's going to be 395 service to Lancaster 7 days a week in the summer. And they are looking to improve their vehicles. So there is space overhead, because there's really not that people are, have their bags and they're traveling, and there really isn't a lot of like luggage space. So they're looking to do that and simplify their fare structure. They also are going to provide Mammoth Express service on weekends. And then they're going to change Bishop Dial-A-Ride to a micro transit service, which is basically an Uber app, but for Bishop Dial-A-Ride. So it's more cost effective and it's faster, and people can just on their app say, pick me up. This is where I'm at. So that's good. ESTA also received a JPIA award for #1 in workers' compensation management. So that was great. And Bishop Dial-A-Ride and 395 routes have rebounded and exceeded pre-COVID levels. So that's good.
And they got an electric bus.
Yes, and they're naming them after previous exceptional ESTA employees, which is great. So yeah, the new electric bus came last week and was named after the ESTA employee, but Phil did not, I don't remember, he might have said the name and I didn't write it down. So that is what's going on with ESTA. It's great. Really good things happening there. And then with SCOG, let me open that. So we discussed increasing staff capacity for SCOG to have an executive director. And then there's going to be a Inyo-Mono broadband coordinator that's going to live within SCOG. And then there'll be an administrative assistant. So, and then we talked about the Buttermilk Infrastructure and Recreation Planning Initiative. The acronym is BURPE. And there's 2 phases to the BURPE. The first phase is to procure a double vault toilet and replace the existing vault toilet at the bouldering area. The second phase is to develop a high-level recreation plan for the greater Buttermilk area. So at the ESTA meeting, we approved a double vault toilet contract to a contractor, and it's going to happen. So that is the first phase of the BURPE project. Okay, so then we also approved a request for proposals for the Trails to Towns project, which is a planning document that we approved, which is like a 200-mile plan that we want developed that will go from, Elaine, correct me if anything is wrong, like from Tahoe to basically Lone Pine. And so we're looking for a consultant to undertake a comprehensive planning process to create a plan. And so we approved Elaine, the director, to come up with a request for proposals. And incidentally, I was talking to my friend Jeff Starosa, who is the acting head of BLM at the moment, and he encouraged the city of Bishop to think bigger beyond the bike park, because he said the bike park is going to exceed its capacity immediately, and you're going to want to be able to have the ability for people using that bike park to want to go bike to Chipmunk Canyon. And he's like, he saw it in Colorado, and he just said that we should think beyond just that bike park. And so this Trails to Town fits right in with that. I also attended the Friday night market. It was bumping. I mean, there were so many people there. Yeah. So that was great. I was really impressed. That is all. So yes. Maybe I'll be able to answer.
Sure. On the BURPE project.
Yes.
I know one of the challenges that the Forest Service has had with maintaining the current toilet out there is that the road conditions getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Is part of the whole Buttermilk management plan to address the road?
No, I was very dismayed to that the road is not addressed at all in that plan.
All right, so I guess I can try to start addressing that at the LTC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the Trails to Town. Is it mainly like dirt trails or road trails that people are?
Elaine, it's dirt, right? Yes, it's dirt. Yeah.
I would like to make a suggestion.
Yes.
If I may. Because obviously we're coming down, it's going to be going Lower Rock Creek because.
Maybe though the carriage road.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Either one of those.
Yeah.
But even though it might not be super, I mean, I think it would be good if It could then go Pleasant Valley. And if we could get a bridge over the river at the end of Riverside Drive, then you could bike from town straight to like the Tablelands. That would be
Great suggestion. Great suggestion.
anyway, throwing it out there.
Okay.
I know there's going to be push to go the other route so you don't have to cross the highway, but I still think that would be that would connect us to the Tablelands, and then if we look into connection to Chipmunk Canyon.
Yeah, I think there could be lots of great bike connections from town.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're just in the very preliminary planning.
Cool.
Okay, well then I will see everyone at our next meeting, September, well, no, we're going to be meeting on Wednesday. But then our next council meeting is September 12th at 6 p.m. Okay, great. Good night, everyone. Oh, thank you. Yes, bam.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, but what if-
I